the clients, which are the users, the residents, come from different backgrounds and cultures, so they would have different requirements. So that means we should use the data in different ways, and we would need different data to make that smart city work.
The emergence and potential for data-driven smart cities represents a transformative shift in urban planning and management, leveraging advanced digital technologies to enhance the efficiency, sustainability, and livability of urban environments. At the forefront of this transformation is the integration of a variety of software and hardware, all of which play pivotal roles in shaping how cities are designed, constructed, and operated. It's the epitome of collaboration digitally. These combined innovative digital solutions aim to meet the evolving demands of a modern urban landscape, improving the way communities interact with their surroundings. As cities continue to grow and evolve, the potential for data driven strategies to revolutionize urban living has never been more promising. But it's not without its challenges, as the latest meltdown from Microsoft evidences. We're one line of code away from cities potentially malfunctioning. We need to start understanding smart cities, the technology behind them, and what the future holds a whole lot better. And to do this, today, we're chatting with someone that's going to help us understand all of this. Dr. Shadan Dwairi is a senior BIM and digital engineering consultant at Costain. Prior to becoming a BIM expert, Shadan's background was in architectural engineering, covering a variety of projects, which included large-scale commercial, educational, residential, and hospitality. Fast forward a little, and Shadan obtained a PhD in BIM in 2019. As a BIM expert, she's been working on high-profile projects such as the Houses of Parliament and HS2. Her main role is interfacing with clients and understanding their needs to deliver and implement digital strategies that would work for their organization's requirements. If that wasn't enough, Shadan is also a senior lecturer in architecture and BIM, alongside conducting research for many publications. Her area of expertise is in automation and digitization and digital transformation, in addition to smart BIM, helping her to identify gaps in the industry and support clients in solving those problems. Shadan, thank you so much for joining us. And did I miss anything from that intro?
Well, about me, you haven't, but thank you for having me, Peter. At the beginning, I would like to say, I would like to add a bit about Costain, which
For
is
sure.
like where I work, my home at the moment. So Costain is a well-known organization, well-known business that has been around for about 160 years. It's one of the leading infrastructure solution companies in the UK, delivering critical infrastructure needs. In Costain, we work with different clients, different sectors. We work with clients in the water sector, transportation. We're leading on some of the major highways in the UK, and HS2, airports as well. We're working with the energy sector as well. It's just like all the sectors, all the types of clients. And as you said, my role in Costain is working with those clients and helping them achieving the digital transformation that they need for their businesses and their projects.
Amazing, fantastic introduction. Thank you so much for that. Before we get into smart cities and the main topic, there's a couple of areas that I just want to cover first and foremost. Um, the first is around BIM and AEC, the industry. Uh, with its adoption surging from 11% to 88% over the past 12 years, there's no doubt that BIM, building information modeling, has revolutionized architecture, engineering, and construction, AEC, by improving project accuracy and streamlining the delivery process. How has the implementation of BIM evolved over the past decade or so? And can you explain the impact it has actually had on the industry?
Yeah, the thing with BIM is that when we hear the word BIM, we always think about it is just been around for like 10, 20 years maybe. But you can actually start tracing back BIM to even the 60s, basically, because BIM is a process. It talks about the different processes and stages of a construction project. And you can see how that first emerged in even 1963 with the REBA plans of work, in 1975 with the modeling, the idea of building modeling. And the actual term BIM, Building Information Modeling, was first used in 1992. And this is where the information comes in the construction industry and starts transforming everything in terms of processes, regulations, standards, and the way of work. If I were to talk about the impact of BIM and where it had the most impact, I would say it's basically a loop. So BIM did have some impacts on some certain areas in the construction industry, and those had effects on BIM. So it's like a loop of continuous cause and effect on those areas. In my opinion, it's in four major areas, I would say: the client, the teams involved, technology, and most importantly, of course, the information. With the emergence of BIM and it being, as you said, really widely now used in the construction industry, the role of the client has changed tremendously. The client, when in BIM, is more involved. It is more client-led, actually, BIM, than opposed to the traditional ways of doing or construction. The client, as I said, involved in every stage of the project, and that's why the client should have good knowledge about what their organization is, what their project is, and should have knowledge about what is intended to happen to the project after handover during the operation and maintenance phase. And that is one of the biggest impacts, in my opinion, on BIM has had. For the first time, we're looking after handover beyond all the information. What is the information we need as a client and as an organization to be able to maintain and operate our assets in the most efficient way possible? So that would be the first thing. And of course, then we start talking about the teams that are involved in the project, the collaboration between the teams, and how they're not working in silos anymore in BIM, how that brings us to the other point, which is technology. Now we need the technology that will enable all those teams to work together and work with the client to exchange, deliver, and produce the information, which is the key of BIM. So those are the four things that I believe has had the biggest, the BIM has had the biggest impact on, and at the same time they had the biggest effect on BIM itself. So it's you can work from backwards, like from the information to the client and then the teams. It works in any way you can, but those are the four major things that should be taken into consideration when thinking about any BIM or construction project.
For sure. Just a quick one on that, and we'll cover your academic work later on. Do you think that both the technology and the knowledge in the industry are growing at the same rate, or do you feel one is surpassing the other? Is there a balance here, or is there an imbalance?
This was about the technology and knowledge, was it?
Yeah, knowledge in the industry for, because you were saying it's more about the client and the client needs to understand what's going on as well. Have we got that knowledge from the client's perspective, or is there still quite a big educational piece to get everybody up to speed with where BIM and technology is?
Yeah, there has been a big shift, actually. There has been a big shift, and especially in the client's point of view, the client side, regarding BIM and the process of BIM and the technologies. If you would ask me as recent as 10 years ago, maybe less, I would say no. But there has been a big shift in that in the clients. Clients are becoming more aware of the benefits of BIM, the efficiency it has to offer, the quality of work it produces, and how it does make their lives easier on the long run after handover and when they're the operation and maintenance stage. Because if you look, for example, at a project, any built asset project, most of the cost happens in the operation and maintenance stage, which is about 60 to 80% of the cost of the project. So that is where the client wants to save the most amount of money, basically, and have a project that they would be able to operate and manage successfully. And now, with the awareness of that and knowing the importance of knowing the proper requirements, the proper information they need to give for the teams, they are getting more aware of that. And the technologies are different, because there are so many technologies out there that do help us do our job in BIM. It is our job as, for example, consultants in Costain to help the client navigate those different technologies and help them choose what is best for their organization and their sector. Because, as I said, so many different sectors, and BIM does work with every sector. But every sector, every client needs a different set of processes, needs a different set of technologies and integrations between them. So there has been a shift. I can see it, like in the past 10 years, like a big jump. And yeah, of course, because of the education that's been happening and the involvement for the industry in education and universities, that also had a big impact on that as well.
Okay, cool. I just want to move on to actually utilizing it on a project basis, and BIM has become an integral part, as you've mentioned, in managing large scale projects. One particular study reported large projects having a 5 to 10% saving on the total project cost, and I'm guessing for some it can be even larger. In complex projects like the Houses of Parliament and HS2, which we've already mentioned, BIM enables stakeholders to visualize and coordinate every aspect of the construction process, from design to execution and thereafter. Even with its ability to generate a more collaborative workforce on large projects, I imagine there's still some challenges that you might not get on the smaller projects. So how do you utilize BIM to its best ability on large projects compared to the smaller ones?
Well, BIM actually, in my opinion, thrives and is at its best when working with large projects
Okay.
in comparison to small projects. And the reason for that, when talking about large projects, we're talking about more complexity. We're talking about more complex information, more complex teams involved, and more complex requirements. And that is the best way you can show off BIM, basically, because it is able to manage that really successfully. Now, in terms of what are the challenges when it comes to those large scale projects, is also the complexity of these things. Because we're working with multiple teams from the different disciplines, and different teams have different, for example, platforms they work on, different technologies, according to different disciplines they're using. Sometimes there might be some kind of challenge integrating those technologies together and making them work. And as I said from the beginning, it's all about information and exchange of information between those teams together and with the client. So there has to be some kind of smooth integration, smooth exchange of information between those complex teams, between themselves and with the client. And also, as I said, the complexity of those projects do require more complex technologies and awareness and understanding of how those technologies work, which need more training, basically, on these things. So that does have a bit more of a challenge, but it's still, in my opinion, it does help BIM show its best.
And I suppose from that perspective also, on the larger scale projects, if there's more people involved that require the training, it's to the benefit of the industry in general for the longer term, because more people are being trained on new technologies and the right things for the future.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, excellent. So let's move on to smart cities then. According to the Smart Cities Index, and this is from research which I'm not 100% sure is correct, but there are 142 smart cities around the world. There's probably more in general are utilizing some kind of technology, I'm guessing. Some surprising names on that list and some not surprising, such as London and Singapore, but also the likes of Oslo and Lausanne. The concept of smart cities relies heavily on the integration of digital technologies to enhance the efficiency and quality of urban services. Can you do a much better explanation of what a smart city is? And secondly, how is data being utilized to develop these cities?
So yeah, one of the things about smart cities is that when the term smart cities is heard, or even anything smart, like smart building, a smart city, a smart anything, we immediately think about, oh, it's about sensors and technology. But it is much, much more complicated and or
Okay.
complex or deeper than that. It's about the data that is transmitted to those technologies and what we're using those data for.
Mm,
So basically, if we were to say that the mission of a smart city is to use the new methods of innovation and creativity and different and new sources of information to enhance the experience and quality of life of the residents. Now, the residents are the clients in this instance when we talk about smart cities because they're the ones who are going to be using those cities and those areas and spaces. So
mm,
it's basically I read it somewhere. It's an outcomes-based digital transformation of a city. Um, it does rely heavily on technology as well and sensors, and I said as data and information, but also like the thing with smart cities, we all want to achieve the same thing, which is better safety, less pollution, easier way of lives, and stuff like that. But something we should take into consideration as well is the different cultures. You mentioned so many cities all over
mm,
the world, and the clients, which are the users, the residents, come from different backgrounds and cultures. So they would have different requirements. So that means we should use the data in different ways. And we would need different data to make that smart city work.
mhm. Okay. So I suppose from that perspective, because when you think of smart cities, my first thought is that you can pretty much utilize the same things in every city, but because of those differences, and not just cultural, I suppose weather and climate would impact the different data and information that you require to get the best quality of life, best sustainability, etc., out of each individual city.
Yeah, yeah, of course, because different cities would have different challenges,
Mm,
and we would need different data or different technologies or different information to um, face those challenges and solve them. So, as you said, of course, so many things do impact how different cities utilize are smart in their own ways, because their needs and requirements are different.
mm,
The reason I bring up culture is because I read the study a while ago about a city in Korea. I think it was called Sejul, and it was how they use CCTV cameras there in the city to to fight crime and AI, and they use AI so they can track people and to fight crime, and it's part of the smart infrastructure that has been built
mm,
for the city. And a group of experts from London, they were visiting the city and they were impressed by the level of the different technologies and smart infrastructure that was put in place. But they said that this kind of solution, for example, utilizing CCTV cameras to fight crime or find, you know, uh, track people would never work in London because as in London, or people in London are more skeptical. They
mm,
wouldn't really, they not as trustworthy as you may say of maybe the Korean people in their government, for example. So it wouldn't be such an easy thing to introduce to them or
mm,
get them to get on board with. So this goes back of how different solutions might work differently in different cities and might not work in other
mm.
cities based on different reasons. In this case, it was cultural reasons.
So interesting. I'd just like to dig a little deeper into one of the main features within a smart city, and that's the automation side of things, as it plays a crucial role in the success of streamlining processes, enhancing efficiencies across loads of different sectors. As cities become more complex, the integration of automation technologies such as IoT, AI, and robotics is vital to keep up with the pace of change. How is automation transforming the infrastructure and services in a smart city? What role is automation playing?
Automation it's one of the basis of what smart cities is based on, basically. Not on anything smart, anything that needs that kind of that level of automation, that level of gathering information, translating it, and then into translating it, like gathering data, translating it into information that can be used for different things in the smart city.
Mhm,
But this also poses a different challenge, because in established cities already, like that have not been established on smart principles, it is still a bit, there's a bit of challenge there to integrate those different automation or automated devices or technologies with the infrastructure that is there. It is easier to start a smart city from scratch and just build it on that basis, and it's much harder to do that on a well-established city, and that does pose a challenge. And this is where automation does come in hand. This is where the new technologies are really working hard into bridging that gap between what is like there and what we want it to be. But of course, yeah, automation is a very important part of achieving that.
Is there how do we combat against things like errors and issues, particularly in cities that already exist? Because um, I mean, clearly that's going to be the ones that we focus on, like London we've mentioned, and Oslo we mentioned, Singapore. Um, if things start to go wrong, or are there are issues, are these easy to resolve? I'm thinking, like, if you're, if you had an issue with your computer or with cloud storage, you, you can pretty much find where that is and diagnose it, and somebody can. Is it a bit more complex because cities are just bigger?
Yes, the same principle, but because of the scale and the vast amount of information and the different technologies that are out there,
Mm,
it is more complex. But it is like the thing, smart cities is a concept that has been around for quite some time now.
mm,
But we like it's only not very long ago where we start seeing it in work and actually working, and we can see the effects of it. So we still need, I believe, a bit of more time just to get the bit more experience of how to solve this error by trial and error, basically.
mm,
We just need more time. We just need more experience. Technologies are getting like are developing in such a fast rate. It's just mind blowing. Like, and within months you can see different technology. Like there might be a problem today, and just in a matter of months, a new technology is out there to solve that problem. So, and we just need new skills, new training, and we need to get it more into the new engineers, if you might want to call
mm,
them, of the future, like from an early stage during their education, basically, to get them to get those skills in them, in solving problem solving skills, technology skills, and even governance, procedures,
mm,
policies, standards, all of these things. It's not just one solution. There's like so many different layers that have to be put in place. It's not just like there's a problem that we're going to fix it. There's like standards, policies,
mm.
procedures, technology, skills, education, um, many things. And as I said, with time, we will get there. We are on the right track, but we still like it's still early days. Like I believe, with like the more we have experience with those issues and errors, it will get easier to solve.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. That's a nice segue onto the final topic then. which is more about academia and industry. And any academia within, I suppose, any industry, the synergy between the two, academia and industry, is essential for driving innovation and addressing real-world challenges. And the work that you do bridges that gap of academic understanding through to practical application. But how do you balance your role in academia and industry to make sure what's learned in the classroom and your teachings are effectively translated into the industry, particularly for the future?
It's an extremely very important thing. It's very, very important, this integration, this marrying between industry and academia. And they shouldn't be separate. And it's getting like, not long ago, the construction industry was on the lowest of the digitization automation. Like it's like was really surprising to see that it was in the lowest of the scales of the other industries. And the reason for that is because there wasn't this connection between the industry and the researchers or the university and academia. There was this cut between them. But more and more, I can see that there's more interest from the industry in academia and vice versa. We can see more and more lecturers who are working in the industry and are lecturing in universities. I remember when I was lecturing at the university, at a master's level, my students would be so excited whenever they knew that there's somebody from the industry coming as a guest lecturer for them, because they know they would talk to them about real life problems, not only theory. Like, this is what we're like, real life projects. Like, this is what we're working with. This is the problems. This is the challenges. And that always gave them that kind of spark to think about, oh, this is what I'm going to talk about in my dissertation. I'm going to try and solve this problem. I'm going to do a PhD about it. And this is where industry challenges and research is important. And also we can see more, as I said, interest from the industry. For example, in Costain, we sponsor many researchers, masters and PhD researchers. We're involved in many, with like, we're talking about like top universities in the UK, and many researchers as well, because as an industry, we have the insight to give them that you can't get it from other places. Like, we can get the theory from books and papers, but the actual numbers, the actual challenges that we're facing in the industry, you have to be in the industry to have it. And this is the number one leading thing for us for innovation, because we can identify the problem, we can identify the challenge as an industry. We have the numbers, we have the insight, and then we have all those researchers who have the mental capability and skills to translate this into working solutions. And working hand in hand with the industry does create wonders. And we can see that firsthand in many universities across the UK and many industries, which are getting more and more and more involved in academia, which I think is a brilliant thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. It's the same in marketing, in terms of real life scenarios, case studies being applicable from an academic perspective. And that's when you see people really light up and take interest, because it's actually things that are going on in the real world. And long may it continue. Long may your work continue from an academic point of view and an industry point of view. Shadan, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.